Welcome to Off the Roster, brought to you by our founding partner, Proline. Betting on Proline is now easier than ever with their new app. Download it today and make things interesting. I'm Lindsay Dunn, that's Dan Riccio, and that is Cabbie. Thank you for joining us wherever it may be in the world, especially on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe and join along in the chat underneath the Nation Network. I am still in Miami. We will be talking about the World Baseball Classic, history being made. We're going to talk to Will Liu, one of the co-hosts of the best Raptors podcast in the world. Hello and welcome. But we will start off talking about the Leafs, guys. The tank is back on. They lose to the Islanders. The Islanders getting a much needed road win. The Leafs, they lost. A lot to discuss in the game. But first, let's hear from Craigie B about why he thinks the team lost yesterday.
You know, and our power play didn't create enough. We didn't do enough in the PP tonight. 5-on-5 was probably a pretty even game, pretty tight. But special teams were the difference tonight.
That clip could be from any game this year.
Yeah,
Did
November?
I trick you guys?
Like
Is that from November?
I don't know. It's been a lot of those from Craig Berube this year. And, you know, I mean, the team is what it is right now, especially without Austin Matthews in the lineup. You know, you can criticize the power play as much as you want, but you know, the power play is missing Matthews. You know, that wasn't as much of an excuse earlier in the year when the power play stunk and they were mostly healthy. But right now it is very different. But ultimately, like, this is, you know, you come to the realization after how this season has played out, there's just not enough high-end talent on this roster anymore. You know, the Leafs went from being too top-heavy of a team, especially through the flat cap era with all that money spent on the core four, and that was the big discussion. But now they've lost Marner. John Tavares is a little bit older. Matthew Knies hasn't taken the step that you hoped he would. So you're just looking at this Leaf team and you're like, well, where's the star talent? You're asking players to come up the lineup and do more than, you know, is probably likely than they are going to do. And the depth hasn't been bad for most of the season. It's just that they don't have the drivers that they used to. Everything they did to try and replace Mitch Marner in the aggregate hasn't really worked or played out the way that they had hoped. So Cabbie was right the whole time. They were going to really, really miss Mitchie in this lineup, and that's exactly how it's played out. And I think the bigger question going into the offseason is how do they fix that problem? Because you're going into 2026, 27. Like, John Tavares cannot be your third best forward. That's not a recipe at his age for this team to get back to any kind of contention conversation. And I just don't see many avenues on how they're going to fix that.
Dan, I would love to get your bold predictions later in the season towards the end. Just like, what do you think? Like, what big swings, what big swings could they take, or what big swings might they take? Because you mentioned Matthews and Nylander, and as the season continues to go south, the chatter around those two top-end talents will intensify. And Brad Treliving's future and Craig Berube's future is uncertain with the club. And whoever, I mean, and I'm not calling for their jobs. That's not what I do. That I'll save that for the rest of Leafs Nation. But it's understandable that the uncertainty around the front office and then those two players specifically warrants merit. And yes, we do miss Mitchie. And yes, like the plan to replace 100 points and one of the best playmakers in the sport didn't pan out. So, and I like that Nick owned up to it yesterday when he was on with us. He's like, listen, I was one of those guys that called for Mitchie, to go play somewhere else. And he's playing in a weak Pacific Division right now. But obviously Toronto misses this guy's talent. And I don't know that we would be here on March the 18th, which with Toronto losing to the New York Islanders. But hey, salute to Braden Shen getting his first. He just had his third baby 2 months ago, scored his first goal with his new club. Anyway, I was gonna but I would love to hear your predictions, Dan. Be them small or big, because I think this team needs a makeover, and that is what I'm hearing, and you probably agree as well. And moving some of those big pieces to get draft capital, first round picks, which Toronto doesn't have many of, could be the play.
Well, that's the biggest issue here. Is like there's no obvious answers, right? Like they talked about wanting a top 6 forward last summer in free agency. They did not get one. You know, they settled to trade for Dakota Joshua, trade for Matthias Michelli, and it's because there's just not much available. In this rising cap era that the NHL is in, we're seeing unprecedented growth in the salary cap. You look at free agency and every team is locking up their guys. Alex Tuch is the biggest free agent forward available this summer. He hasn't yet re-signed with the Buffalo Sabres, and if he does hit free agency, guys getting 10 plus if he makes it to UFA, and all 30 teams are going to have the money, or most of the 30 teams are going to have the capability to sign him at whatever number he likes, because he's the only guy worthy of paying that much money. Otherwise, you're going to get into, like, remember that NBA season where like Timofey Mozgov got a max deal and like Bismack Biyombo got $75 million from the Orlando Magic. Like that's the kind of era that the NHL is going into right now, where like guys you wouldn't expect to make such an amount of money are going to make that because teams have money to spend and they don't really have a ton of talent to spend it on. Can they go through the trade market? What do they have to trade? Okay, they got the first round pick from Colorado. Like you've got a couple of assets now after the deadline, but nothing that's really going to move the needle for a lot of teams. I don't know. Like even if Brad Treliving is gone and it's somebody else that's running this ship, you're going to have to get really creative to fix the Maple Leafs in the situation that they're in.
Well, when you talk about being really creative and Cabbie bringing up, you know, they need a makeover, it made me immediately think of that popular show, Extreme Home Makeover, which I don't know if it's still on the air, but everybody saw it and they go like 3, 2, 1, move that bus. My fear of the Toronto Maple Leafs is what they're going to do is they make those big moves. They have this big grand moment, and then when the house and the people go to live in it, there's all these cracks and they try to be a little too creative, and then everything is just going to fall down, and then there really is no hope, and then you're in massive debt. And that is where my mind went with it. And so I think we now know where I'm at with it. Yeah.
Pretty good visual.
Yeah. But when it comes to visuals of this team, William Nylander, Dan and Cabbie, I'm curious if either of you have any thoughts on the third goal for the Islanders.
Okay.
Not a good look.
So there's a lot of talk about culture right now around the Maple Leafs, right? Like we've heard it a lot, certainly in the last week after the Matthews incident. And, you know, you heard Anthony Stolarz talk about it after the win on the weekend. You know, we're building good habits. We've got some young players here that are trying to grow and be a part of the future here with the Leafs, a lot of call-ups. And, you know, he's not wrong about that, but like it's all a fugazi. You know, like it's really, it's not real. It's a woozy, it's a wazi, it's a, you know, it's Matthew McConaughey and Wolf of Wall Street, because the guys who have to be culture carriers have to be the ones to do that. And William Nylander, he played over 22 minutes last night. He, you know, he's an unbelievable player, but he's the highest paid player on the team. And you watch that third goal, he's got a chance to clear the puck. He doesn't do it. He's not closing down passing lanes. Like, you can't talk about carrying culture and then have your highest paid player dogging it in those moments. You know, I don't expect this team to win a lot of games right now because of the talent level on it, but like, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth, right? Like we're talking about culture and we're also giving the same guy 22 minutes. Not that he's going to play a lot less, and who else are you going to play? I get it, but it's a fugazi. Okay, let's be honest about the situation. It's really hard to build culture when you're just doing the death march through the final 15 games of the season.
That's fair. I don't know if William Nylander should take all the blame. I mean, that was a beautiful goal. Like, the Leafs couldn't clear the zone for like a minute or a minute and a half.
It was his fault. It's like, he's got to clear the puck. He just like gives it a little flip. Like, come on, Willie. Like, make a play on it. I know you're tired. You've been out there for a while, but like, let's. It's just, again, you've got to be the culture carrier, and he's one of the biggest culprits. And he gets away with it because of how much he scores. But in a moment like this, like, you've got to be the guy that's leading the way, because the captain's out of the lineup. You're the highest paid guy. You've got to be the guy that sets the standard right now.
Okay, well, there are indicators that the culture is changing. And I know you and I are on different sides of this, but when like Morgan Riley spends the last week, 10 days, just taking shots from random people on the internet, people who have never played hockey, couldn't make their high school hockey team, people who are other guys who have played in the NHL or are currently playing in the NHL, talking about the team's courage, talking about the culture. And I think BX said this on Saturday on Hockey Night in Canada. It has to start somewhere. And as a man, you open up your phone and you're just taking millions of shots and people questioning your character and saying you have no courage, and you're among the top 1% of people who can play and like do that job on planet Earth. And then he fights yesterday. He fights Kyle McLean. Kyle McLean, I don't know if he runs Joseph Woll, but there's some contact. Yeah, and he's like...
Has it started, or is it just performative because he got roasted by his GM and his coach over the last week? Like, it's been reported that Brad Treliving, after the Matthews hit, was calling players that were on the ice and just giving them an earful. Morgan Riley had to be one of those guys. He wears an A. He is one of the leaders on this team, and for him to be in that moment, I know he's taken a lot of heat. He puts heat on himself for it. But we've seen this. My issue is, Cab, okay, I would believe it if it was a first-time incident for this team. But we're going on 10 years. Anthony Stolarz called out his teammates earlier in the year, and for a week or two, they change their minds about it. They start, fighting for their teammates, and then all of a sudden it dissipates. It's like somebody gets, it's like me and my fitness habits. New Year comes around and I'm like, you know what? New Year, new me. I'm going to start going to the gym and doing all that thing, eating healthy. And then I do it for about a month and then, start to fall off the wagon. And it happens literally every year.
Okay, hold on. Which I'm sorry. We got to get you a Planet Fitness membership or something like that. But wait, hold on, Dan. It's going too far to say that it's performative, bro. Like, there hasn't been a Toronto Maple Leafs captain in Morgan Riley's tenure. Tavares, or I don't know if he played with Dion for enough. I can't remember if the timelines, if Dion was traded to Ottawa before. But either way, where a captain has sustained that kind of injury, like that kind of a dirty hit from a guy who fights, from a guy who strikes fear in his competitors in Racco Gudas. But there isn't really, and I could be wrong, and I probably am wrong, but I can't think of the incident which there is a precedent for the other players, the other 22 guys or the other 4 players on the ice to respond the way that the Toronto Maple Leafs did not.
Usually Riley is that guy, right? He got the 5-game suspension for going after Ridley Gregg. Yeah, for the slap shot into the empty net. So like Riley's of the Leafs that have been culprits of these offenses in the past, Riley has usually been low on the list, but that to me speaks to just how bad it's gotten, how this year has just completely gone off the rails, and everybody on that team was just going through the motions during that big losing streak, and then this Matthews hit kind of jolted it into a different direction to realize their faults and how much they had let this thing go awry. And to me, it's performative from the team as a whole, not just on Riley. He is the face of it after last night, because like you think about the Sam Bennett hit on Anthony Stolarz last year, there was less of a reaction to that. And I guess, it's a playoff game. Leafs were hoping to go to the power play and do their damage there. But This is not something that's new to this team where they don't stick up for their guys, and that's why I take issue with it. That's why I say it is to a certain level of performative. They had an average of 7 penalty minutes a game all season, and now since the Matthews hit, it's over 25 minutes a game in these last 5 games. They've had a fight in 5 straight games since the Matthews hit. I mean, it's just been a complete 180 from this team since that one moment in time.
And it should be, bro. I want to say one last thing. Could you imagine Morgan Riley doesn't do anything? McLean runs his goalie. He goes back to the bench and just looks over at his coach. Like you can imagine Berube, who played 15 years in the NHL and fought his way through this entire career, one of the toughest hockey players of his era. Could you imagine what like the look of disgust his coach would give him? And Riley is wearing most of it for the team because he was the first one to stand in front of a hot microphone and say, hey, this one's on me. We should have responded differently for our guy, Austin Matthews. And that's captain material, like taking accountability. And now it's a small, but it's a start of a culture reset. And the guys just know that their pride, their manhood, their character has been called into question across the country, and they're doing something about it. I don't think it's performative. I think this is the reaction. And granted, it wasn't a huge hit on Joseph Woll, but you got it.
Barely nothing.
These guys are showing us something.
Completely normal hockey play. It was a completely normal hockey play.
But the stakes and the circumstances are different. I'll say that.
You know what really pisses me off, guys? Pardon my language.
That's fine, Grandma Lindsay. What do we got?
Yes.
You know what sticks in my craw? You know what grinds my gears?
Sticks in my craw. When you're at a sporting event and you wear a jersey of neither team that is playing, first off, shout out to the Leafs. I love their St. Patrick's jersey. Although I do not wish harm on people, if you're a bozo that wears a Habs jersey to a Leafs game and the Habs aren't playing and you happen to get hit in the head with a puck, that's on you. Hockey karma.
1,000% agree.
Watch this. This is like...
What a loser.
The only person.
Poor guy. He's just getting cut up by everybody. It's like
you're a loser.
He's fine. I did feel bad when I saw how injured he was, but you are a full-on... I hate calling people losers, but you're a loser for wearing that. Like, what? That irritates me. And like, first world problem. But yeah, the Leafs losing, whatever. When I saw somebody wearing a Habs jersey in the Leafs barn when they weren't playing, get the hell out of the arena. And so I'm glad they're okay, but I'm also glad that they just randomly got hit by a puck in like the most bizarre way. Don't wear a different team's jersey there. That's just stupid. Sorry, guys.
Like, was it, I mean, I suppose if it was a Patrick Waugh jersey and he's the coach and like, that's an iconic jersey and you're not a Leafs fan, you're rooting against the Leafs and you wear a Waugh jersey because he's the coach of the Islanders, then maybe, but that's like, I'm giving this person a lot of the benefit of the doubt. But I agree with you 1,000%.
It wasn't even a jersey. It was like one of those sweater jersey things that they make now, you know, it was like...
No, the quality looked better than Fanatics, but I'm like you, Liz. I loathe seeing jerseys of teams that are not participating in that night's action. Just like it's not about you, bro. And like, yeah, you have civic pride, maybe, but like, get out of here. Also, I loathe seeing, and I've admonished friends of mine for this. When I see people in Toronto wearing New York Yankees caps. And I know we'll get to Aaron Judge and Team USA. I've actually called people strangers. I'm like, bro, have some civic pride. And this was in the era of like 2015, 16. Blue Jays are back. Batista, Donaldson, that era, Stroman. And then just like, yo, have some civic pride. Wear like, yeah, I know it's a fashion accessory, but wear it in New York. Wear it in the United States. Don't wear it here. Anyway, that's a rant off topic. But I guess I shouldn't call that man a loser, but I feel that's loser behavior.
No, I call him a bozo, which is the same thing. That's just a grammar term, bozo, a loser. But now it's a segment where Cab just
like walks up King Street and yells at people wearing Yankees hats.
Can we
Men
have
and
Dodgers
women,
hats?
everybody can get that smoke. Yeah, Dodgers now, yeah.
The other
Dodgers
major
people
jersey
just throw
faux
for
pas,
fashion.
the
Yes.
other like wearing some other team's jersey at a game is like, yeah, it's one of the worst offenses you can have. But if you like wear the number, like if you've got a custom made jersey with the number 69 and your name on the back, like, yeah,
You
it's just
should
like
get hit.
ultimate loser behavior here. So there's another jersey faux pas for you.
New segment, ultimate loser behavior, and that is our closer winner of the day. Is that
Cal
schmuck
Rowley
that
is
we
on
wear.
that list immediately, Lindsay. Great idea. And let's put Cal Rowley in the 1 slot. Loser behavior.
So I'm gonna flip my jersey take for this one moment that it is the only acceptable time to wear another team's jersey that isn't playing is when you're at the Olympics or the World Baseball Classic, because there was a lot of people wearing Japan or Canada or whatever team yesterday, but that is a different scenario because you're also buying the tickets so far in advance you do not know who is playing. But I just want to take everyone into what happened in Miami last night. If you did not have the chance, or maybe you did watch it, I do not know what they showed on the screen. But being in the arena beforehand with the tension and excitement, people hoping the ultimate Cinderella story and the underdog of Venezuela would come out and win their first title in the World Baseball Classic, to many thinking USA would just win the whole thing before the first pitch was even thrown out. The opening ceremony, the anthem, it was such a beautiful, emotional time. You had the dugouts of Venezuela. I'm going to struggle saying this all day because I've been up for 5 seconds, or sleeping rather. They're cheering and getting the crowd to cheer with them for every pitch, every at-bat, but then also trying to tell each other on the field, take a breath, calm down, focus in the moment. That's the heightened energy we saw from that squad. And it wasn't until Bryce Harper hit a 2-run home run in the 8th to tie the game that you saw USA come out of the dugout and show some emotion. It was so exciting to be in that crowd and then on the field after, when Venezuela for the first time won the World Baseball Classic. And if you were watching the show, it'd be like, why was there extra emotion? I'm not going to give you a history lesson of what is happening in the news, but let me tell you, the emotions in the stands. You had fans crying. You had media crying for this moment, for their country, for their people, and for the athletes that fought throughout this tournament. And over again, this is a scene right now that happened inside in Miami. For hours, they were cheering in the ballpark, outside the ballpark, cheering and chanting,
So
singing, dancing.
Love
It was
this. Love
an
this so
electric
much.
moment. Like, this is right now, the video we're watching is about 2 hours after the final pitch was thrown out, and the jubilation, like, it was just, everything was so palpable for this crowd, and the emotions, tears falling down people's faces. You couldn't help but almost get a little bit emotional. And so I spoke to a number of players after on the field about this moment and what it meant to them. And you hear over and over about how they were doing it for their country, but also the success of this team, how they were viewed as underdogs, is that they viewed each other not only as friends, but they were family. Every single moment, they said they were doing it for their brother that was beside them on the field or in the clubhouse, and for their family and friends and everybody in Venezuela. Here's a quick moment with Suarez and Jimenez after they won.
About the emotions of your family being here, holding their hands, what does this mean to you to celebrate this
It
with
means
them?
a lot. I think that's all that matters right now. That's why we're here. I feel so blessed to have my family with me. I have my kids, my daughter, my wife, my mom, my dad, my sister, everybody. And that's all that matters to me. Giving this moment to them, they really deserve it. They've been watching all my career. They've been support me, and this is a little bit that I want to give it them.
When you were standing on that stage, that confetti went up, were you able to take this moment in and the significance of it all, the first time ever? You guys have brought home the championship.
Only in my dreams. That's what I dream. The dream come true, and it's at the right moment for my people in Venezuela.
You see the video there of Andres Jimenez, just tears flowing down his face. And Suarez, before that, what people could not see is he was holding his mom's hand while he was talking to 20 to 30 media. And then you see this little tiny hand kind of around his waist. That was his daughter. They were so emotional and connected with each other and wanting them to be a part of it and celebrate it. It just, I know, like, they're like, oh, let's just talk about sports, but the personal part of this all, you could just feel how much it meant to them. And I'm happy that they won. I'm happy also that it was a dramatic game and that there was a lot of emotion. And I think this also brings up like the importance of the World Baseball Classic. Some people wondering when and where it should be played throughout this season, but you also had that historic moment, like I mentioned, that Venezuela wins. Then on the weekend, you have back-to-back leadoff home runs, which they were involved in, and also Team Japan with Shohei Ohtani. They did a great job. My only beef, World Baseball Classic, for how you guys treated the media and how the fact that there was no access, because let me tell you, the reason I got that interview with Jimenez is we all broke down the barricades and charged the field. It was probably the most badass thing I felt I was a part of. But yeah, Cabbie, they had it. So we were all supposed to be out there when they were getting the trophy celebration and speak to the media. And then they had us all barricaded and had us in this back room. So we never actually saw the medals being handed out. So I heard, and I've now seen the video, that Team USA, when they were getting their silver medals, many of them just took it off right away. So what was your guys' thoughts on this game and how it played out? Because you have to say it was dramatic. It was exciting. And USA, they made history for 81. Well, they got more than 81 strikeouts, but that was the goal to beat was 80 that Japan set last World Baseball Classic for the most strikeouts in a single tournament. So they set that new record, but unfortunately they weren't on the win side.
Well, Aaron Judge has a lot to do with that, Linz, and the most unclutch player in I don't know, pro sports right now, considering like what he is to baseball, right? Like the season he had last year, he's right there with Ohtani for best hitter in the game, and we saw it in the ALDS with the Blue Jays. I mean, this guy is just when the moment gets too big, Aaron Judge shrinks. He shrivels and he turtles, and we saw it again. I mean, last night in the 6th inning, he's got an AB. He's working the count, gets to 2-0, lets it go right down the middle, gets it to 3-1. Lets it go right down the middle. Like, what are you waiting for, man? You got your pitch. You got 2 heaters right down the pipe, and you just watched it. You just watched it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, this guy's heart rate gets above 90, and he forgets how to swing the bat. It's crazy. And I feel for him. He takes a lot of heat, but when you're that big of a player in the game and you continuously come up short in these moments, like, you're going to get it. And he wasn't the only culprit for Team USA last night, but you can tell it means so much more for the Venezuelans. Palencia, there was like tears coming down his eyes as he's throwing the last pitch of the game. It's this means so much to these guys, considering the political climate we're around too. I mean, it just adds an extra layer to it. And it just gave me goosebumps watching that celebration last night.
So on the screen here for the audio audience, we have a tweet from StatMuse, which reads, Aaron Judge in World Baseball Classic elimination games, 2 for 11, 6 strikeouts, 0 RBI, disappeared. And talk that talk, Dan Riccio. I mean, he's just spitting straight facts. And even before the game, there was a little bit of shade from the former captain, maybe the most famous captain of the New York Yankees, who said this on the panel with A-Rod and David Ortiz about the World Baseball Classic and the World Series. Take a listen.
Passion's been unbelievable, and we've heard a lot of players say bigger than a World Series. Bigger than a World Series, Derek Jeter?
I think the people that said it's bigger than the World Series never played in the World Series.
Smoke! He's here for that smoke because Jeter's got 5 rings. He could say whatever he wants. He is on the Mount right. I know there's an area, Yankee Stadium, with I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but Jeter's his legacy is cemented. And going back, and I think that's shade towards Aaron Judge, because going back to the World Series that Aaron Judge played in, who said that the World Baseball Classic is, I don't know if it's a bigger feeling or feels better or it's more important. I can't remember.
It's bigger than the World Series, yeah.
It's bigger than the World Series. Well, if Aaron Judge's only experience in the World Series, if we go back to Game 5 in center field, a routine fly ball from Tommy Edman just hits the heel of his glove, which then cascades into a number of Yankee errors in the 5th inning. Dodgers put up 5 runs. Dodgers close out the gentleman's sweep 4-1 in Yankee Stadium. So for Aaron Judge, yeah, let's forget that moment, because he, like Morgan Riley, differently, I suppose, but wore a lot of the blame for the Yankees losing that World Series to the Dodgers in 2024, and largely because of that one small mishap, not rising to the moment of Game 5 in your own park. And here we are, not the same park, but in Miami on your home soil, and not rising to the moment of a championship tournament, a championship game. So salute to Venezuela. The interviews you got. Salute to you, Lindsay. Like getting time with Jimenez and Eugenio Suarez, and just getting those emotional clips. That's awesome, and just it provided, as I like to say, great theater. But it meant so much to the people of Venezuela for beating a superpower, not just in sports, but just the broader message politically. And we can't take politics out of sports because it's just, they're infused. So yeah, salute to that squad and everybody who partied on Ocean Drive last night in Miami. I don't know where you partied. Did you end up at 11 or did you end up at Prime 112, Linz? Like you said, you got very little sleep. Well, how was your after party?
My after party was being in the media room and then capturing footage and then taking a very smelly bus back with people to a parking lot off site where our vehicle was, and getting back to the place that I'm at about 3 hours ago. But we will have a lot of those interviews and moments behind the scenes on YouTube on underneath the Nation Network. We'll also have some other video posted on our social media and Off the Roster Pod. I want to show you one more video, but I want to bring in Will Liu of Hello and Welcome, the best.
Yes. Good
Raptors
morning,
podcast.
Sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Morning, Will.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, friends.
What's up? A lot to talk to you about basketball-wise, but I also want you to be a part of this video I am going to show because I know you've also covered the NBA Finals. We've all either been around a major sporting event. This is something I've never seen. So when we were on the field, we were interviewing the players who had won. Team USA came out maybe 30 to 45 minutes, and they were taking photos on the field and kind of just standing on the field with their friends and family when maybe 30 to 50 feet away from them, you'll see so you see Rogers on the field with Webb, they're hugging, and then you can see in the background, it's the Venezuelan families, they're celebrating, they're cheering, and it's just, I've never seen anything like that. So yeah, just to your right, everyone else is celebrating. It was just kind of show. I don't even know. I've never seen this. This did not happen in the NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals. I've never covered a Super Bowl, but any major sporting event I've covered, whether it be from elementary school to the highest level, I've never seen the other team just come out after they've lost in the biggest game in the tournament and take photos.
This was a cool
Well,
moment.
I guess this is better than them celebrating with Cash Patel. So, yeah, very happy for Venezuela yesterday.
100%.
Well,
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, but when we talk about these big moments in sports, I know that Canada's hoping that in soccer for the World Cup that something great happens, being very hopeful, very hopeful. But you had a viral tweet within the last week about the temporary stands at BMO Field, which I have been watching go up because I live near there. If you got a ticket for free to sit in those stands on a very windy day, would you take it?
Lindsay, come on now. It's the World Cup. Would I die to sit with the worst view possible in the World Cup? Probably. Come on now. Lindsay, the World Cup coming to your city is a once-in-a-lifetime event. Unfortunately, I don't know if we have the photo or not, but it is it genuinely looks like it's just purely scaffolding. I think they paid $150 million for it, so I imagine part of that budget will be going towards maybe covering up some of that scaffolding, maybe putting up a little bit of signage. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough because it's the World Cup. It's literally 50 Super Bowls when it comes to the individual games and how important they are, and you would just want them to be at top-notch arenas. And I know BMO was never really built to fit FIFA specificities, and you can't put 50,000 seats in there permanently because there's no way there's 50,000 TFC fans. All due respect, to TFC, but yeah, man, it's an eyesore. I don't know, that area is already not that pretty, and it's an eyesore. So.
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed driving by it every single day, being that does not look safe at all. Mel in the chat saying you could not pay me to sit in those seats, but I don't know anybody listening. I spoke about this last week. They had the media game where Will Arguably, got some
No.
MVP votes on the winning team, which I was a part of. Yeah, let's go. He was bringing the passion. He was bringing the fire. But I did not see you do this move that Alex Caruso did of the Thunder yesterday, which I've never seen in sport. But I'm wondering if you've attempted it. And for those that just...
Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
To
What
try
are
to
we
swat and
doing
gets
already?
a tech. He gets a tech for using his shoe. Are you going to bring this into your game now, Will, is my very important question for you.
You know, I am competitive enough to try this.
I know you are.
You know, as you know, Lindsay, I am like a bit of a, a bit of a psycho when
You're
it comes
intense.
to competing. I'm very intense. But no, I actually thought this was a bit of ingenuity. I could have sworn I saw Marc Gasol do this as a member of the Raptors. He had lost his shoe, and he like threw the shoe from behind, but he didn't hit the ball. In this case, I guess there's a rule, but that was called goaltending and a technical foul. So it actually worked backwards for Alex Caruso. But I do think that's the right call there, because even though that's not technically goaltending, that should be goaltending. Should not be using shoes to attack the ball.
I couldn't stop thinking of Austin Powers. Like, who throws a shoe? I mean, he didn't actually throw it,
Great
but
call.
it was.
Do it with the accent. Do it with the accent.
Well, who throws a shoe? Really? That's about as close as they'll get to Mike Myers and Austin Powers. All right. So what's going on with the Raptors, Will? Like the win over the Pistons. We've been waiting for a big signature win all season long. Was this it for you?
Yeah, I thought that was their best win of the season. I thought it was really comprehensive. You know, I think there's like 3 major doubts with the Raptors on this season, because like they've like everyone knows they've had a really good year. It's a step forward, you know. But if you would say they've hit up against 3 things, it'd be number 1, they can't beat the truly great teams. Number 2, they can't really handle physicality, and then number 3, they can't really close out leads that they have in the fourth quarter. And this was probably the only game all year where they dispelled all 3 of those limitations on themselves. I mean, number 1, Detroit's the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've had a bit of a struggle lately, but like, you know, ultimately that's still an excellent team. They're probably the most physical team in the league, maybe them or OKC, depending on if Alex Caruso has a shoe on or not. So, you know, like that's a challenge that they also met. They actually beat them on the offensive glass. Jakob Poeltl had 9 offensive rebounds. And I think the final thing is just like holding on to a lead in the fourth quarter. There were moments in that fourth where it's like, okay, they cut it down to 5 points. Cade Cunningham's pretty unstoppable. But then the Raptors just executed. And, you know, it wasn't just Brandon Ingram getting buckets, although he did have 70 points over the weekend. It was also RJ chipping in with the mid-range to clinch the game. It was also Scotty getting involved as well. So it's a real team effort. And so, yeah, I think that was like probably their best win of the season. And they needed it so badly because like they had just come off probably their low point of the season in the same week, just on Wednesday, when, you know, Jamal Shed got punked by DeJounte Murray and nobody came over to support him. Mm-hmm. Darko even said after looking at the tape, you know, before Friday's game, the next game, he's like, look, we looked at it as a group. We talked about it. That'll never happen to us again. They needed a turnaround because they had also slid into the play-in temporarily. But again, these things shift really quickly, right? You look at after last night's results, I think the Raptors are somehow back in 5th. Like they didn't even play and they moved up.
Yeah,
in the
they are.
So.
Let's go.
It's death taxes and Toronto teams getting shamed into playing harder. We love to see it. So the other part, you mentioned Jakob Poeltl. I kind of been through all the emotions with Poeltl this year. I was ready to like write him off through the back injury. Like you can't count on him for the rest of the season. And you can't trade him either. So they're kind of stuck. And now I feel like he's starting to find the best version of himself. And that's where the physicality comes in. You see them better on the boards as well. Are we seeing Jakob Poeltl getting back to being that Jakob Poeltl?
I mean, it wasn't even Jakob Poeltl against the Pistons. It was Jakob Poeltl against the Pistons, man. I couldn't believe he was always getting a 20-20. I think Yak is who he is. You know, that's why, like, I understand the frustrations with Yak because he hasn't really played much on the season. And then in the moments he has played, he has come up short sometimes too. Like it genuinely does cause some level of panic when also the Raptors sign him to an extension. But I think like when Jakob's right, when he's healthy, like he's just like kind of a very ideal supporting player. You know, he doesn't really take up too much space. He doesn't ever demand the ball. He's just like screening the right spots, helping guys get open. And then getting on the offensive glass and playing good defense. I think he's like a solid, like an average starting center, in the NBA. I think in some areas he's above average. I think his touch is very good. But then again, he doesn't really dunk the ball much either. So there's kind of a trade-off there. But I think ultimately, Yak is a really good finisher and a really good screener. There's probably some matchups that he's not going to be good against. Like even last week's game against Phoenix, the Raptors won and they closed out the game. But if you noticed, Jakob wasn't on the floor to close because Phoenix had so many guards on the floor. So you probably don't want him to guard at the 3-point line as much. But yeah, ultimately Jakob's a very serviceable player. And I think that I think besides his family, I think the Toronto Raptors have supported Jakob almost more than anybody on earth because they drafted him, they traded back for him, they've extended him twice now. So it's just they clearly believe in Jakob to a huge degree. And if we get that Jakob versus Detroit, then all of a sudden we're talking about the Raptors as a contender. But we know that that's more of a one-off.
Pardo had 21 points, 18 rebounds, just for those that missed that game, and a season high 36 minutes. So, Will, good morning, by the way. Do you think that, or do you get the sense that Coach Rajakovic has found the core that he trusts and might run these guys out 36, 38, 40 minutes in the playoffs and keep that bench very short?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cabbie, because I think I was at practice yesterday and I asked Darko this exact question about what has gone into the rotation being shortened. Because if you saw in the win against Phoenix and the win against Detroit, they basically play like an 8-man rotation, especially in the second half. First half, they slide in a little extra, maybe try a little Jameson Battle, maybe try a little Jonathan Mobile. But realistically, it's 8 guys when it comes down to crunch time. And I think Darko was really hesitant to commit to that because he was like, look, that it depends on the game. That wasn't our initial plan going into the game, but, ended up dating that way. I think there's always going to be, the rotation's going to shrink and contract, but he can say what he wants. I think, honestly, the players made the decision for him sometimes, right? The Raptors, especially given how young they are and maybe even the talent composition of the team, there's basically only 8 guys that play well on a given night. And when it comes down to you need to win a game, they needed to win that Phoenix game to bounce back from their 2 losses on the road. They needed to win the Detroit game because I was going to be the winner of the season. When it comes down to that, Darko's not dumb. He knows who are the guys that, he needs to rely on. And, thankfully RJ's playing fantastic. Brandon's been playing fantastic. Scotty is really carrying, so much of the load on both ends. So he knows who his main guys are. And I do think in a playoff setting, yeah, you'd probably trust 8. I think the big thing is maybe you expand that to 9 if Colin Murray-Boyles is able to come back healthy because he has shown to be such a good defender, so smart, very, very much above his current age. And I actually it's a rare instance where I would trust this rookie in a playoff setting. So I'd probably go with 9 in the rotation. Obviously, you have your 5 starters, but, you got Mamu, Jamal Shead, Jacoby Walter, those 3 have been really solid all year, and then I probably slide in CMB. And honestly, it depends. If Sandro's not hitting his threes, then I probably put CMB in for defense. If Sandro is hitting his threes, maybe I'd keep CMB on the bench. So 8.5.
One guy. So, okay, nice. One player that Coach Rajakovic absolutely trusts is Brandon Ingram, and you said he scored 70 points in his last 2 games. When Toronto completed the trade for Brandon Ingram on February 6th, 2025, did you immediately delete all your Ingram is overrated tweets from 2022 to 2024?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I think when the rumors first came out, the initial reaction was kind of okay, this is a bit strange because this doesn't really fit where the team was going with the rebuild. But then I think even after about a week after the trade rumors started happening, I was like, okay, I can see why this makes sense. Number one, the Raptors have they had a lot of expiring salary that was burning a hole in their pocket. When you trade for Bruce Brown, I'm sorry, Lindsay, I know Bruce was one of your favorites, but when they traded for Bruce Brown,
there it is.
Bobby Webster was I've never heard when they trade for a player and the GM be what's great about this player is he has a team option that gives us a lot of optionality. And I'm that's not even gassing up he's a good rebounder or scorer or whatever. They're hey, he's got a good contract that we can move around. So clearly they were able to move it around, but they needed to do it before his contract expired. So they brought in Brandon. It was look, the Raptors' half-court offense just was not good. You know what I mean? It just genuinely was one of the weakest points. Nobody could really do what Brandon does on the team. And I think the big question marks were is he going to stay healthy? I think that's the big thing was can he stay healthy? And yeah, he stayed. He's already over 65 games played. I think this is the most games he's played since like his second year or something like that already. Hopefully it stays that way. I'm going to knock on wood right now. But obviously Alex McKechnie and the training staff, Ram Malik and those guys, they've done a really good job, Johnny Lee, of just like keeping these guys like fully fit and ready to go on a night-to-night basis. But yeah, I don't know. Also, like, I guess like we're especially us in sports media, like we like try to look at every little angle. Is this deal the best deal? Could he got this or that? Sometimes we got to take a step back and be like, this guy's just nice, man. Like, it's just nice watching you out and get buckets. Like, man, and like some of the footwork and the up fakes and the shot making. It's just as a fan of basketball alone, I'm just like, it's really fun to get to watch this up close. So I've definitely gained a bigger appreciation for his game up close, but he's just nice. Okay, so
Two quick things. One, yes, it's nice to see someone thrive in the mid-range because that feels like pure basketball. Yeah. And BI is one of those guys that, he's got the turnaround from the elbow, likes to get to his spots. Mm-hmm. And then two, so wait, did you delete your tweets or no? Are those still live about Brandon Ingram being overrated?
Do you have them up?
No. I'm just
cue the tweets.
I'm
not gonna lie to you. I didn't really care about Brandon Ingram before he came to Toronto. So.
Okay, fair enough. But we care about him now. We love BI3. The notorious BI3.
Let's go to another tweet of yours, though, that went viral. Okay. You always get some of the best content around the Raptors and the NBA, and it was Scotty Barnes getting slapped in the back of the head by a kid at Raptors Media Day.
This was incredible.
If you haven't seen this, listen to this.
Yo, why did that kid smack Scotty?
Oh, the audio. I hadn't heard the audio before.
Your commentary is the best part of the whole thing.
Why did that kid smack Scotty?
Man, the death stare that Scotty gave that kid afterwards, man.
Yeah.
Just your commentary.
Warranted.
It sends me. I need that to be my ringtone and my text alerts is, why did that kid hit Scotty? That was a fun day, but that tweet or whatever I don't know what they're called anymore, went crazy online. Can you just take me through watching that moment in real time?
Okay. I got I have several bits of reporting to do on this, which is actually it's kind of strange. Number one, the kids are from Thornhill. Okay, the Thornhill Thunder. Shouts to the Thornhill Thunder. The program actually reached out to me after the video went out, and they were like, "Will, everyone's having a lot of fun with this video. The kids, the parents are all kind of really enjoying sort of the attention, and it's a very adorable moment. Like nobody was hurt." But they were like, look, we do want to put together a little apology video. So if you actually go to the Thornhill Thunder's page on Instagram, they actually did do a very adorable, the kid who slapped Scotty, he was like, Scotty, you're my favorite player. Like, I didn't mean to hurt you or anything like that. And then they all like essentially did a version of slapping at the top of the blackboard or whatever. So I think that part was actually really adorable. I think it's good to know that no one overreacted to it. For the most part. I mean, obviously don't touch the athletes. Like, come on now. That is like a classic. Like, unless they invite you in, don't do it. But they're kids, and even Scotty kind of like laughed it off after the fact. I think the other part to report though is that the reason I had my camera, like my phone was like pointed exactly at that tunnel is not necessarily because I wanted to film all the walk-ins, but I was watching the walk-ins and they introduced the whole team. The kids slept like at least like 4 other players.
Really?
What?
And so Scotty was the last guy coming out. So I'm like, okay, let me finally get this on video.
Oh,
so, yeah,
I can.
Nice job.
That kid is a menace, man. I don't know what.
That kid is a menace. Take away his PS5 for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
That's right.
I love this.
Nintendo Switch for you, man.
Thank you so much for Wildu joining us, our Slapgate reporter, giving us all of the inside details that we need to know. Thank you so much for your time today. Go listen to Hello and Welcome, the best Raptors and NBA podcast in the world. That is Willu. Thanks, buddy, for joining us. And if I see you in person soon, I will be hitting you in the back of the head.
Oh, don't do it, Lindsay. We don't want.
He knows I'm going to.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
That was some crazy updates about Slapgate. That it
really is like the head tap is one of the worst things that like. I know it from like a hockey perspective. Whenever your like coach would like slap you on the back of the helmet, the worst. Like, why are you doing this to me? It's so jarring every time it happens. So I could totally understand Scotty's reaction in the moment.
The worst is like when you, after a big play in football, you make a huge tackle, you get up, and your teammates are like 100% effort, just smacking you across the helmet, bang. It's like
you get 3 concussions in a minute.
Get a concussion, right after knocking some guy out, or like tackle for a loss. You get up and your brain is cereal after 17 seconds of absorbing, all these head taps from your teammates who do it in love. But like, bro, this is painful.
It hurts. Anyway. Which is funny because it explains so many of those videos you'll see from different sports. The player who makes that game-winning pass or catch or point or home run, they kind of run away from their teammates because they know what's going to happen. They're either going to be the bottom of like a giant pile of people screaming. And thankfully, I've never experienced that. But I don't know if you guys haven't, but have you ever thought about what it'd be like to be at the bottom of a pile of everyone celebrating like a walk-off home run or something? That to me is terrifying and seems like it'd be so painful.
Oh, it's not good. We should ask Kendrys Morales this question. He's
Oh, Kendrys, nice.
Yes.
Broke his leg over it. It's like don't do that.
Oh.
Yes, just playing football. Just touchdowns. You're on the bottom of the pile, or like you were trying to recover a fumble, and then you're obviously on the bottom of the pile, and you have just like several thousand pounds of humanity on top of you. NFL's got to be way worse because some of those pileups. You're under there they're under there for 60 seconds, 90s. Like, I'm surprised more guys don't just pass out just to the weight of other giant humans on top of you trying to, get a 12-inch pigskin from under the bottom. So, it's baseball not as bad because the guys don't really collapse. But football, got to be the worst.
Oh, man, I have so many somehow inappropriate comments out of this conversation. So I'm going to switch over to something happening in the NHL.
That's what it was, right?
And 12-inch. And
12-inch,
I'm so sorry to anybody listening. It was amazing. Anyways, we still went there. But let's talk about the NHL. And Jack Hughes is making headlines again because he is upset that the Hockey Hall of Fame has his gold medal winning puck. That he scored that legendary goal, some people might say, if you live in USA. I know Will and Justin in the chat would say that. What are you guys' thoughts on the fact that he wants the puck out of the Hockey Hall of Fame and doesn't think they should have it in the first place?
Well,
you're either on one side of this.
He should probably talk to the Hockey Hall of Fame before doing a story on it with ESPN. That would be my first suggestion for Jack Hughes, who is also maybe unhappy that Joe Burrow was hanging out with Tate McRae, Jack Hughes' girlfriend, but that's maybe another conversation. I don't know. Like, it's the Olympics, the Hockey Hall of Fame. Don't they have like ownership over these kinds of mementos and things? I don't know exactly how that works, but I'm not surprised that the puck has ended up in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So I think we go through history and like all those kinds of pucks and mementos and different things like that, they end up somewhere in hockey's halls. So yeah, I think Jack Hughes maybe just start with talking to the Hockey Hall of Fame about it.
Yeah, I'm sure they can get something to him. I don't know if I guess it was an article with Greg Wyshynski, but I didn't see the video, so I don't know if was he smiling? Was he being sarcastic when he said it, or was he being like dead serious, like deadpan, like, no, I should have that puck.
Sounded very serious.
I want to give it to my dad because my dad helped raise 3 NHLers and he deserves it. And, I saw on IG like a carousel and there's a picture of him and his dad just kind of smiling, but like, I don't know if he's really upset about it or if he's kind of said it with like tongue in cheek. So, I mean, I'm sure they'll get something to you. There'll be a commemorative, plaque or his jersey with with the I don't know, some paraphernalia from the Olympics. I don't know. Is Sid's golden goal in the Hockey Hall of Fame, or does I guess that's the next question? Like, where's that puck? Where does that one? And where's like the Looney in Salt Lake City that was either in the ice or is that in the Hockey Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
those are.
My understanding, they're all there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then that puck is in the right place. The Jack Hughes puck is in the right place. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. He's in the Hall of Shame right now. Him and his traitor girlfriend Tate McRae. Yeah, I'm still salty. She was in a Team USA commercial. What the H are you doing? Yeah, I was surprised by his take on that. I understand that he would want that puck, but in one way, that probably will be in the Hall of Fame for many, many years. I don't know. It could be there forever. It was a surprising take for me. I understand why he would want to stare at it when he's watching maybe The Bachelor with Tate McRae when they're at home. But other than that, I'm like, that's something you want to have in the Hall of Fame. People can go admire and love what you did for the country or the game or be mad at it and just stare at it with hate. But interesting take. What I am hoping for is for you guys to have a great Proline pick of the day. Let's see what you guys have today, because the Proline app is here. Betting online with Proline Plus and betting in store with Proline are both easier than ever with the new app. More sports, more leagues, and more markets than ever. Bet on March Madness all tournament long with Proline Plus or in store with Proline. Dan, what do you have for the people today?
Well, we are looking at the Raptors game tonight. They don't have as big of a matchup as they did against the Pistons, but with the Bulls on tap, we are looking at RJ Barrett to go over 21.5 points. RJ has been on fire for the Raps lately. He has hit this number in 4 of his last 5 games, so we are running with RJ Barrett tonight.
Nice job, my man. These picks are for entertainment purposes only, people. We're going to stay in the association, and Jalen Johnson and the Atlanta Hawks. Out of nowhere, the Hawks are the hottest team in the NBA, thriving without Trae Young. This team has won 10 games in a row. They've officially put the Eastern Conference on notice, and a squad that has zero expectations is now beating some half-decent teams. Okay, tonight they face the Dallas Mavericks, and the signature matchup is Jalen Johnson from Duke and Cooper Flagg, also from Duke. I was talking about Duke earlier in the season, and March Madness is here. Jalen Johnson has recorded back-to-back triple-doubles, so my Proline pick of the night is Jalen Johnson to record a 3rd triple-double in a row.
Ooh,
that is my
spicy
play. Yeah, go forth, young man. Triple-double for Jalen Johnson in Dallas as a member of the Atlanta Hawks.
Ooh, I'm excited to see both of you hopefully make your picks. But when we talk about spicy, Cabbie, I don't know if you ever worked at Canada's Wonderland when you were in your youth, but our pal Dan has. And apparently he worked with some actors, and he was a scarecrow. So many questions about your job. Did you have to go to acting school to become like a scarecrow when they had like the Halloween haunt or whatever? What was the training that went into it? Like, just take us into the world of Dan working at Canada's Wonderland.
So this was while I was going through. Thank you for exposing my my prior life. This was while I was going through theater school at the Great Humber College here in Toronto, and it didn't last very long in theater school. But I did work at Canada's Wonderland as an actor, and they at the time they paid pretty well. It was like $150 for like 6 hours of work a night, and that was like great when you're going through school or whatever. So it was Halloween haunt, and my first time through, I was a scarecrow, or I guess we were called corn stalkers. It was like a cornfield maze, and we would have to sit or we would have to stand on the corn stalks and then jump out at people as they would go through the corn mazes. And yes, a few of my coworkers have gone on to have fine acting careers. I don't even know what shows they're on, but Kevin McGarry is big, and he was one of my coworkers. But yes, that's I don't know. It was freaky. Like, I hated being a scare actor. It was the worst. People would like come and poke you and stuff. It was just it was an interesting job, and there was like 20,000 people coming through your maze at night. It was exhausting for 6 hours.
Whoa! So my question for you is, do you remember any of the skills you had when you were a scarecrow, or something that you could share with Cabbie and I right now?
No, I cannot. My shoulders got jacked because you would sit here for like 4 hours a night, just like this on the scarecrow thing, and then you'd have to jump out at people. It was like,
Did you ever get punched? Like someone's reaction?
I did get a reaction punch a couple of times. Yes.
What?
Oh wow!
Oh, I wouldn't be that person.
It's more like a flinch kind of thing, like okay. they get scared and they accidentally hit you as you're trying to scare them. But
that's amazing. I later
got fired for going on rides in my costume, which was. I was like, this is a great way to scare people.
That's great, dude.
This is a great way to scare people. You just show up next to them on a roller coaster.
Lindsay, have you ever been fired from a job, like fast food or restaurant or whatever?
Not yet.
I was. Go ahead.
Tell us.
I was fired from Wendy's when I was my first job with a paycheck when I was in grade 9, and I got fired for eating the food. We came back from like a softball tournament, went to the restaurant, and we're like eating, just not in our uniform, just like eating out of the salad bar and going behind the counter and like making ourselves food. And some of the customers like, who are these hooligans in here, rampaging this store? I got fired. So you and I, Dan, fired stories.
Yeah. I probably
Lindsay's the great employee. We're the derelicts. Dan.
You know what I'm going to tell? I think I got like quiet fired or whatever it may be. I worked at the Arthritis Society when I was in grade 9 in Regina, Saskatchewan. So I live up to my nickname on this show. And it was for free though, or maybe I got paid a little bit, where I'd have to fold brochures and you'd mail them out to people. And I would either be late or I did a terrible job at folding, which takes me back to grade 3 when Mrs. Dom told me I couldn't fold properly and I didn't cut proper circles, so it was really tough. But eventually these people told me that they're going to make it a volunteer job, so I think I was fired and they just did it in a polite way. So that's rough, guys. That is. Well, we were talking like, oh, you know what, I did get fired, they just didn't say you got fired. But you know what, I'm curious tomorrow if either of our guests were Scarecrow actors or if they ever worked at Wendy's. We are going to have former Toronto Raptor CJ Miles on the show, as well as former Toronto Maple Leaf and co-host of Leafs Morning Take, Jay Rosehill. You're going to want to stick around tomorrow. Join us at 10 a.m. Eastern because I absolutely am going to ask them this, and hopefully we'll dig up some photos of Dan as a Scarecrow. Thank you for joining us for Off the Roster. I love Wendy's.
Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more Off the Roster content, make sure to like and hype this video and subscribe to the Nation Network YouTube channel.